It is Monday, November 1st, the day after National Candy Day, and you would never tell from our incredibly well-behaved children. And then 1 second, I'm charging a kid points because that is not how you sit in a chair when you are being punished. But that's why they're down to 8 points. Just so you're aware, you're now at 8 points. Let's see, from there, let's see, don't forget the whole food rule thing, from again, not sharing or making a mess, because if I keep finding wrappers on my ground, then I'm going to have to be mean. And then, let's see, we've already learned on if you guys had fun last night. Grades, B points, all of that has been updated. Calendar thing over here has also been updated. Home children, you can kind of see it over there, or you could just go to Canvas and make it easy on yourself also. Essentially, today we're going to go over quiz here in a moment, but for the most part, you guys did really well on quiz, so we're not going to spend real long on it. Because unlike the previous quizzes where I had to reteach a thing, you guys seem to do well on this one. Then we're going to start reading more about Pranky Bits. Tomorrow is all reading about Pranky Bits, and we get to really good stuff tomorrow too. Today's kind of fun. Tomorrow's really fun. Wednesday, more reading. Our last day reading together this week. But then Wednesday, I'm also the homework for the week. We give you one homework assignment this week. It'll be due Monday of next week. And then it should be a fairly short-ish thing we'll get into. Thursday is an entire 7th grade wide English test. And so every 7th grader has to take the exact same test. And it's just seeing how much you guys have learned this year. It's like a 15-question test. Drawback is I did not create it, so you cannot use handouts on it. It is just you and your brain.
Dang it.
The questions are going to be over, can you figure out the point of view of a story? Can you figure out what a theme is? Do you know what foreshadowing and irony? All the things I've already covered with you this year and beat it into you. As long as you've been paying attention, you should be fine. If you didn't, then it'll be a bit more of a struggle. Good news is you have the whole class period to take it. You should only need 20 minutes probably. For some of you guys, you may need more, but for most of you, it'll probably be around 20 minutes or so. The rest of the time, you can either finish the homework I give you or you're welcome to read. And then Friday, quiz over the book up to page 130. I'll probably get you into the 100s, depending on how reading goes this week, but you'll have some reading to do on your own. Bella?
Were you dressed up on Friday?
I was not. Barsoom?
You spelled night wrong.
You are correct. That is the wrong night. Actually, it's not even a correct night at all. Hi, Hom.
Is it for grade? Is it a grade?
Everything's for a grade.
How much is it?
I thought it was just to test your knowledge.
It is.
But
you should have this knowledge, so it's for a grade. It's about 15 points. Yeah.
I hate the homework. It keeps redoing my stuff. I do it, and then
I
walk away, and then it's all reset.
And a lot of times, the problem is with longer writing on Canvas, it's not perfect at saving stuff. So a lot of times what I recommend doing is writing it in Notepad or Word, and then copying it and pasting it. Canvas, if you do a lot of writing and you go out of it, sometimes it saves it, sometimes it doesn't, and I agree. If you put that at the beginning of your entry and put Mr. Brovicast, I did this multiple times, I told you about it in class, I'll be much nicer when I grade it because you've told me about it twice now. Just remind me when I grade it and I'll take that into consideration.
That's due tonight, right?
Yeah, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yep.
Barsoom?
How many points is the quiz for?
15.
50?
15. Cat?
So, if you don't have time to copy and paste or whatever, let's say you have to go eat dinner or something, just press the camera button and take a screenshot.
You can also do that too. I've had kids turn that in, which is fine. Covered that already. I was just thanking the kids who came. I had a good time. It went pretty well. I had a number of kids who went through it multiple times. And we only gave candy the first time you went through, but there was some little kid who's my next door neighbor, 3 houses up, who went through my thing 4 times. And then even after we closed it, we were shutting everything down, turned on the lights. He came back again and went through all the lights on. He was a special kid. He was 9 years old, and he was and here's where that person jumps out, and there's a person standing behind this. And he just liked going through it. I was like, you're a special little monkey.
He's turning it to you.
And so it was adorable.
I was the winter soldier.
Do you know about this haunted house that's heavy? Do you know about this haunted house? I don't remember where. No, it's more in the Geist area.
It wasn't that funny.
And it's run by a bunch of sophomores.
Ooh, that sounds cool. But now, after that.
Is it open?
No.
So here's homeworky thing for you, the one that's due tonight at midnight. There's a small change for those of you turning it in late. It's not late yet, because you have until midnight tonight to do it. I'm assuming, now, again, The grading of them, I think I've graded all the ones that have been turned in so far, at least through this morning. Again, biggest issue, kids not doing complete sentences. And then losing 2 points because they don't put capital letters and periods. Other than that, what you guys are turning in has been great. I've been enjoying reading them, and you guys have been doing a good job with them. And the kids who follow directions have been getting like extra credit on it. It's just been, apparently, again, complete sentences are a struggle. Kat?
Can I check it real quick?
Yeah, that's fine. Here's your change. Up to prior to today, if you turned in something late in my class, I charged you 1 grade point, and that was it. It just meant that you could not get a perfect score. Now that we are going into the second 9 weeks, we're supposed to start making you be more responsibler, which means I have to start increasing the penalty for turning stuff in late. I believe like science has been doing it all year. Like the first time it's late, they beat you with a stick, and after that they bury you or something. But in my class, I've not been as stricty. So for my class, it's just going to be as soon as it becomes late, the highest possible grade you can get is a C+.
No.
If you're not planning on getting a C+, then it doesn't bother you. But a lot of you have been turning in A and B work. But if you turn it in late, even if you do perfect on it, the highest grade you're going to get is a C+. It doesn't guarantee you a C+. If you turn in crap work, you're still going to get a bad grade. You can't just turn like, I'm turning in trash, and then submit it and be like, C+. No, you still get like your D. It just means that if you do better than that, it caps you. If you never turn in work late, this does not apply to you whatsoever. It's just for the handful of you that do turn things in late, just realize that now, like on this, it's out of 20 points. The highest grade you can get is a 15 out of 20 as soon as it becomes late. And then if you turn it in late, and then you also like don't do complete sentences, then that drops your grade down and stuff like that. So I just wanted to let you guys know to try and avoid it. I'm not giving you more homework. Like this week, I'm still only giving you 1 homework assignment, and it'll be due next week. Just whenever we do a thing that you turn in late, there's a penalty for it. The joy of me going to my meetings, they're like, are you properly torturing kids? And I'm like, no, they're still adjusting. They're like, it's time to torture kids! And I'm like, fine. So,
How will they figure it out?
I know,
It's just cheap.
They just hate it. Hi, Mina.
I have just noticed this. This may seem stupid, but I just noticed that you removed the bragging rights for kids on the leaderboard up in this tournament in the squares for 8 leaders to sign.
I erased that last week. I left it up there for about 2 weeks, and then I eventually took it down.
Wait, she didn't get to go.
I know. We already talked about that multiple times. Max, time to send you to the hallway, because we're going to be going over the quiz.
Mr. Brovia?
Go to Canvas, go to that Friday, go clicky clicky, and you're good.
Mr.
You're going to go
Brovia?
that way, so you don't go that way.
Yeah.
So you're not going in front of my
I
camera.
saw him walking around.
And you want to grab the book?
Here?
The book will help you out.
Mr. Brovia.
There you go. Hi.
I am eye candy. You should put me on your camera.
What?
I said I'm eye candy.
Points?
Yeah. No. How much points I have?
You're at 12?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, thank you. I have my thing.
Kat?
So, how did I get 21 out of 20?
No, you want to go to those wooden tables next to Mrs. Randall?
Alright.
Alright.
So, how did I get 21 out of 20, but it says me complete sentences?
We're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
There's no name on this. Greg!
We'll eventually want like out of all the classes.
What was that?
Who won out of all classes for the board?
Who won?
Yeah, for like.
Whoever the 4th period ones, they were like a 4.3 or something like that. Omar
I have a
and
question.
something.
Abdul.
Can I
Not
use your
Abdul.
pen?
Who's that second one?
Will.
Tanisha?
Your-
If you don't have a writing utensil.
No, it has, but it's broken.
Then I'll just give you a different one.
Yay!
Bella.
Wait, 2 things. I'm gonna wait till you get back home.
What?
He gave me it right there.
Can you what?
Oh, you give me a pencil.
No.
I know.
No, I have another thing.
Be grateful for what you get, I
Alright. Quiz-wise, moving on. If you on the quiz, actually from here, Tristan, I'm going to have you shut the door so we don't bother Max out there as he's taking it. And in a moment, in theory, Ivan's coming back, so he'll be knocking on the door. If you got lower than a 20, and we had a handful of kids who did, and you would like to resubmit it, you can. You have a 3rd try, which I put in there just so you can go in there and fix things. If you got higher than a 20, don't refix it, because it's not going to raise your grade at all. A 20 out of 28, I believe, is like a C-. So it's just, if you got a D or an F on it, and you don't want a D or an F, because it lowered your grade, here's the part where you can fix it. If you don't want to fix your grade, and you're happy with what it is, that's fine with me.
Brandon, you look like a
If you do fix it, then you're more than welcome to, and that's fine with me. You're now at 7 points.
Okay.
Okay. And then, all right. So I'm gonna run through. If you're wanting to, you can. If you don't want to do it now, you can always watch the video and you can get the answers on the video part of it too. Or you can do it right now as we go over it. I'm happy either way. Those of you who did get the 20 or higher, then we're here if you guys can give me answers. We can go through. Clicky, this is me just buying time for kids to get a chance to get into it. And, all right, all the questions. Number 1, where is it they all hang out? Stonehenge. That's all I was looking for. So they go hang out at the place called Stonehenge, the old broken down building that's out. 2, why does Randall join the club? Now he doesn't want to win at first, but Drew Landers is better than him at swimming, and he throws a fit about it. He's like, he's not better than me. He never won. 3, what do the kids have to admit to? There you go. Which there is a question coming up later, which was real similar to this one, because I was trying to give you guys a couple of easy points. And if you got this one, you should have gotten the later one also. Yeah, the fact that they're second best at something.
Exposition.
The literary term for the boring beginning stuff.
Exposition.
Your exposition comes in.
Is this showing?
This one kids seem to struggle with a bit because they kept looking on page 44. That's just where he gets made fun of the first time.
Yeah.
And where he tells Cheryl this is a stupid idea for a club, and then someone makes fun of him, and he's like, oh, I need to get revenge. Who makes fun of him? And I took Austin Pace, or Lost in Space, or just Lost in, or just Pace, or something along those lines. And any of those worked for me. So if you put that in there, and it didn't count it right, send me an email. I'll be happy to give you points. Just be like, hey, on question number 5, I had it in there correct, didn't count it. I will go in there, take a look at it, and if it's correct, I have no problem giving you points. That's what happens sometimes. Or
If
soon.
you just put Austin with that count.
6, a good theme for the story up till now.
Well, I don't remember what I put.
Sometimes bullies use their fists.
They keep talking about the fact that they're being bullied, but yet not a single one of them has gotten punched yet, although that's about to change in the story. And so, things are about to change. And so the fact is, they're claiming they're being bullied, but yet none of the bullies have actually been punching them. 7, why do they call it Shadow Club?
They're always second shadow.
This is the one that was like question number 2, where it's the same idea, they're always in second place like someone's shadow. Point of view,
First person, Jared.
same similar thing you're going to be doing on Thursday's all 7th grade test. They're just going to give you like a paragraph. You have to read the paragraph and know, is that paragraph first person or is it third person? Same idea. So be able to figure out point of view. 9, why do we call him Gopher? My goal when we went over this in class was I kept putting, that's why I put the pictures of that gopher up there, was I was hoping it would stick in your head and you'd get this class, you're like, oh yeah, there's a picture of the gopher, and you kept talking about having a gopher. So that's why I put the pictures, trying to help your brain remember things.
I thought the goofy goof.
How do they get revenge on Vera Donaldson, the popular girl? And who does she have a crush on? What type of person does she have a crush on?
A weird guy.
I forgot his name.
Not bad, yes. He's a short kid that's like a grade lower than her.
8th grade.
Yeah, they're freshmen, so.
The term is shorty.
You can refer to him as a shorty. I'm going to pass.
Brandon, that's for the girls.
And then they mentioned at one point that they're going to put a snake in a lunchbox, and then later on, a snake shows up in a lunchbox. That'd be our foreshadowing. Again, like on Thursday with the whole, as long as you remember stuff like that, you'll be fine on the Thursday test. It's just asking questions along those lines. This goes to the actual things. David Berger at the game.
Put slime in the shovel.
Gangbanger.
There you go. He put the slime on his trumpet and it blew over everybody in the class. Or the whole band. And then, why do they have to bring a picture?
Burn them. Fire.
They throw them in the fire to burn them as their little bonding thing. 14 and 15 were the 2 grammar questions. So that you are aware, we're going to have grammar questions until one of 2 things happens. Either A, you guys figure out grammar and then you guys do better, or I'll start doing grammar lessons. but it's one of those things where they've been at my meetings, like, hey, how do kids do grammar? And I'm like, I think they know grammar. They're like, well, you have to make sure. So that's why I'm putting them on the quiz. If we don't know grammar, it's not an attack on you. That's fine. It just means that we'll do grammar lessons. But if not, then I'm going to put these on a couple of quizzes, and if you guys keep struggling with them, we'll do lessons. If you don't struggle with them, we'll be fine. But that's why I'm putting the grammar on there, is because my meetings, we have to keep being able to vouch for things. Greg?
I fought it.
Right. And so on here it says verbs are going to be your action words, things that you have to do. And our two action words in this sentence, enjoy is an action. I enjoy scaring kids, so enjoy is my action. And then reading is an action because that's why you hate doing it. Because reading is work, which is why you guys tend to sort of shy away from it. So action, action. A lot of you guys put pranks. Prank can be a verb if used that way. Like, I'm going to prank you by setting your foot on fire. Ha 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 ha. That makes it a verb. But here, they're saying, I like reading about the pranks. That makes it a noun. So sometimes words can be a noun or a verb depending on how you use them. I see.
I would disagree with in not enjoying reading.
Not to each their own.
Because I love.
I'm glad. Me too.
I like writing, but not reading.
And here you get bully. That can be used in more than one way. Austin is a bit of a bully. Makes it a noun. I like to bully children. Makes it a. So the thing I did to try, apparently I made it trickier than I planned on. I switched the verb and noun so it was in the other order, and that seemed to blow kids' minds. So it was verb and noun, or noun and verb, and that seemed to really throw people off. Oh, what?
You know what'd be really funny?
What's that?
If we set Austin Pace's foot on fire.
That would be kind of fun. We have different ideas how humor works. So, overall, on the quiz, the questions we struggled with, grammar. So, that last question, we had like 1 out of every 4 kids get it right, so that was definitely a struggle. The other one was just under 50%, so struggle on that one too. Hi, Bella.
Do I have scissors and a nail file?
Do I have? Yeah, I've been out a moment. I grab you a little bit. Okay. The other one, for some reason, what would be a good theme, even though you guys all yelled at me, like that was like our other big struggle one. Beyond that, you guys did well. We actually, I think, had 2 questions. Almost everybody got correct. Was just that one? Just that one. So number 3, what do kids have to admit to so they can join? 1 kid out of all of my classes got that one wrong. So the fact that, and overall number-wise, we're looking at like 80s, 70s, 90s. I was impressed. I went back and checked our previous ones. I know I've done like these little numbers things at the end. The short story quiz number 2, our numbers were like in the 40s, 50s, 60s, struggle. So I went and checked the short stories number 4. Again, 60s, 50s, 70s, struggle. Shadow Club, 80s, 90s. So you guys did really well on it overall, which means one of 2 things. Because I have not changed the level of my quiz questions. They're still the same type of questions the whole year, but you guys are now doing better on them. On the short stories, you guys had to read sections on your own. On this one, you read sections on your own. I think there's a chance either I'm becoming a better teacher or you guys are getting smarter.
Yay!
And I don't think my teaching is changing. So there's a chance
We're
you
just
guys
smarter.
are actually getting smarter.
I'm getting dumb. He doesn't even do his homework.
Back to Shadow Clubby things. Let's see. There and we chose a team captain. So we did team captain, Gopher, just because it makes me smile when I see the pictures.
Why Gophers built like that?
Orphan Annie, we covered that part. I just really like my Brovicast with Jared and Austin in the running and him trying to jump and fall.
I like animal
It
taxes
just
in
makes
my
me
film.
smile.
Yeah, me too.
The Stonehenge where they're hanging out. Real quick, with our Shadow Club members, we'll run through that. So, Jared Mercer. Who is it that Jared hates?
Yeah.
What is Austin better at doing?
Running.
There you go. Who does Cheryl hate?
Rebecca.
What is Rebecca better at doing?
Singing.
Now, for the other ones, I'm going to flip them around. So, Randall, what is it that Randall's good at doing? Do you know the name of the kid he hates?
Landers.
That
How
good
about
rap.
Jason? What was he good at?
Trumpet.
Not bad, yeah. Do you know the name of this person?
David Berger.
David Berger.
Oh yeah.
Abby Singer?
No.
Popular.
Popular. The girl she doesn't like?
Barry Donaldson.
Nicely done again.
You have
He has an hour.
It's a Vera
Look
brother.
at you. Way to read it. Or the other kids. OP?
OP.
Overpowered.
And the person she doesn't like?
Tommy Jefferson.
Tommy Nichols.
Manager.
Oh, sorry.
Darren?
Basketball.
And who does he not like?
Football.
Eric Kilfoyle. Nicely
I
done.
want to like anybody
No,
named Eric.
no,
Sorry.
no,
guys
man.
are disappointed.
Oh, what did they put in the thermos?
Oh, snake.
And again, this is something my Brovicast art that I photoshopped.
I want to kind of put
It
snake.
looks like a really being there. And there's the snake coming out of it. I mean, I want to
Mr.
think that's
Brovicast.
a rattlesnake, but
Mr.
same
Bobiek.
idea.
What lunch do you have?
And then trumpet. What comes out of the trumpet? Again, high quality photoshopping on this one.
Is that literally
I don't know.
ear then?
It was not easy finding slime.
There.
No, boy.
I feel like I nailed it. Alright. 74. Let's pick up and read from there. We're going to get into more of them torturing people. B lunch. B lunch.
Lucky, I'm suing you. That's the best lunch. Well, get out.
So it's about partway down. Next trick. The next trick by far was the most dangerous. I was there because it was my turn to pull a prank. Cheryl and Randall just came along to watch. It was midnight, Wednesday. We stood outside Drew Landers' open bedroom window. Maybe we ought to think of another trick, said Cheryl. The lights were out in the house, and we were sure Drew was asleep, but, I mean, still. No way, said Randall. This is perfect. Perfect! We have to do it. Trust me. Drew can sleep through anything. Once, he fell asleep in math. They couldn't wake him up. They had to call in the nurse. Cheryl turned to me. Well, if you still want to do it, then I'm with you. I smiled and carefully removed the screen, then climbed in through the open window. Drew Landers' room was a mess. I mean, I've seen my room get pretty scary, but this was a pigsty. It was hard to walk without stepping on things that crunched. Drew slept under a mass of covers in his bed. We could hear him snoring more loudly than the roar of the filter on the huge fish aquarium in the corner. Look at this, whispered Randall, pointing to a whole row of swimming trophies on a shelf above the aquarium. Cheryl put her finger to her lips to shut him up. Drew didn't hear a thing. He continued snoring as I very carefully rolled the covers away from his feet. He was wearing dirty socks, moving a fraction of an inch per second. I peeled back the socks until his feet, which smelled a little like chlorine and a little like vinegar, were sticking straight up at me. I reached my hand out to Cheryl. She handed me the nail polish. When Drew woke up in the morning, just as we had thought, he didn't change his socks. And 15 hours after we had left his house, an incredibly embarrassed Drew Landers had to explain to the entire swim team why his toenails were painted red. Those are not my toes.
Oh,
Alex said they were.
Just wanted to make sure I pointed them out.
Mr. Bobiek. Alex said they were.
Them are women's.
They're very pretty toes. They're just.
They're ugly.
Look
Well,
toes
those are not toes. Those are
next
little
part we're
sausages.
getting to, you have to know how colorblindness works. I'll be honest, when I was a kid and I grew up people were colorblind, I thought it meant you only saw in black and white. I didn't realize that's not how colorblind works. Colorblind, you see the world like everyone else. It's just your eyes can't tell the difference between red and green. Like your eyes see them as the same colors. So here, if you're colorblind, all you're going to see is a circle with a bunch of little circles, and that's it. Not being colorblind, you should be able to see a 62, a 6, and a fish. And then you should be able to...
You got the 74.
That's a 74, get it right.
Being able to tell the difference, that's how colorblindness is. You can see it. You guys should hopefully be able to tell the difference. Cat.
So for the people who are saying it's 71, just blur your eyes and you can see 74.
Sure.
Yeah, ghetto.
I can't see it from this angle. From this angle, it looks like 54.
I don't think it's also just red and like.
There's other ones.
Yeah, the beat can see red and
So
see.
if I was colored,
Hi.
Or you only not tell the difference between like dark blue and black.
That could be. That's not much colorblindness as much as the colors are so similar. But I know green and blue is also a different color. This red and green is the most common one. But I know there's other ones that are out there.
so if I looked at grass and it's green, would I think it'd be red if I looked at
Part of it is they can't tell the difference between like grass and your shoes. And they just look like the same shade. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not colorblind, so I could use my
I
imagination.
know what shade it is.
What shade is it? What color is it?
Eric Kilfoyle, the basketball star, was a sweater. Not the kind you wear, but the kind that drips all over the floor during a basketball game. Antiperspirant didn't help his sweating problem very much, but as Darren told us, Eric would always roll on a sizable helping of antiperspirant under his arms before going out onto the court. The trick that Abby planned turned out to be much more complicated than it sounded, because not only do we have to switch antiperspirant bottles, we also had to make sure that Eric never saw what he was coating his armpits with. In the end, we had to black out the locker room at the perfect moment just to keep Eric and the rest of the basketball team in the dark as to what was going on. We were all there in the stands when the basketball team came out of the dark locker room and into the gym. Darren looked up from the floor and gave us the okay sign. The team wore their warm-ups through the layup drills. Finally, when the game was about to start, the warm-ups came off, revealing the team uniforms. Eric's was already beginning to look sweaty. It was a jump ball, and of course, Eric jumped. His arm went up, and in the excitement, nobody noticed Eric's underarms but the referee. The whistle dropped out of his mouth. The other team had possession of the ball, and Eric ran down the court, taking his position as center of the 2-1-2 zone. His arms went up, and that's when everyone else saw it. Fluorescent green sweat under his arms, soaking the sides of his shirt. Well, the captain of the other team dribbled the ball through the defense, then stopped dead when he saw Eric's little problem. "Hey, what's with the armpits, dude?" said the kid at the ball. Now, when somebody says something about your armpits, you have to look. You can't help it, even if you're in the middle of a basketball game. Eric reached under his left arm and came out with a fluorescent green hand. The kid shot a basket over Eric's head to score. Now, had the joke ended there, we would have been more than satisfied. But it didn't. We didn't count on Eric being colorblind. "I'm bleeding!" cried Eric, stumbling around the court, showing everybody his green hand. "I'm bleeding! I'm bleeding!" The game sort of stopped as everyone tried to figure out if this could be possible. If it was, Eric must have been an alien. "Help! I'm bleeding! I'm bleeding! Call the nurse!" Everyone was so confused and dumbfounded by this weird turn of events, the nurse was called immediately. The most obnoxious of our tricks was a doubleheader. It involved two kids, and one of them was lost in space. You see, Mr. Milburn, the science teacher, had a collection of animals in his classroom. Animals that range from gerbils to lizards. Tommy Nichols, the 9th grade's foremost brain, kept his pride and joy in Mr. Milburn's room. Octavia, his beloved pet tarantula. Now, sometime after lunch, Tommy noticed that Octavia was missing. But try as he might, he could not seem to find her. She wasn't in her cage. She wasn't hiding in the bookshelf. It seemed she was nowhere in the room, and nobody could find her. Lost in space found her. Or should I say that she found him? I was particularly mad at Austin that day, so I couldn't wait to see the trick pulled off. You see, Austin had called me gopher so much, everyone has started to call me that. I couldn't wait to get back at him. Anyway, it was a rainy day, so Austin, as well as everyone else, came to school in a hooded jacket. In the homeroom, at the end of the day, everyone put on their coats and waited for the bell to ring. Ralphie Sherman saw it first. "Hey, Austin, there's something in your hood." "Yeah, sure," said Austin, because nobody ever believed a word Ralphie said. "If there was something in my hood, would I do this?" And Austin, thinking himself pretty clever, put his hood on. When he pulled his hood off again, a tarantula was sitting on his head. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" He screamed, running around the room. "Get it off me! Get it off me!" He wouldn't touch it. The thing was sitting smack on the middle of his head, but he was too grossed out to actually touch it. Well, just like with the snake, everybody in the room, including Mrs. Marlowe, our homeroom teacher, began to scream. Meanwhile, Austin ran around the room with Tommy Nichols running behind him, crying, "Don't hurt her! Don't hurt Octavia! She doesn't bite! She's a good tarantula!" However, when a tarantula is doing push-ups on your scalp, you don't care how good it is, you just want it off. Watching Austin turn white as a ghost was the high point of my day. And then, as if it wasn't bad enough, Octavia got freaked out and tried to climb off. Unfortunately, the easiest way off of Austin's head was down the back of his shirt. Austin fell to the ground, shaking his shirt, but Octavia wouldn't come out. She'd had enough for one day. Austin tore off his shirt, ripping out all the buttons, and Octavia went sailing across the room. When she landed, she wasted no time in racing across the floor for a place to hide. "Don't hurt her!" yelled Tommy Nichols.
One announcement for this afternoon. This is for students. We are getting into those cold winter months. Highs in the 40s, lows in the 20s. So you want to dress appropriately coming to school, out of the bus stop, and out front before the doors open. But this is a reminder that jackets and coats are not to be worn throughout the day. They can be placed or should be placed in your lockers throughout the day. If you're someone that's a little cold-blooded, you can obviously wear a sweatshirt like normal. But those jackets and heavy coats and things need to be placed in your lockers.
What kind of double?
So if you're wondering, oh my goodness, what locker number is mine? What is my combination? You can find that on Skyward.
I'm still gonna
You
wear
can get on Skyward, click your student information, and you'll find both the locker number and the combo. Once again, my guess is many of you will need those as we get into these colder days and colder months. And once again, if you need help with that, feel free to ask, but we will make sure to follow those expectations. Thank you.
Let me finish the chapter and I'll
That's the
stop.
stupidest.
She's tame. She's a domesticated spider. But no one much cared. While most everyone saw the tables, Octavia scampered around the room between the table legs until she finally met an untimely end under the heel of Richard Ferguson's shoe. Lost in space, sat on the floor in a daze. For once, actually lost in space. Tommy Nichols had collapsed to his knees in tears, mourning his dearly departed spider. And Richard Ferguson threw his shoe into the wastepaper basket, choosing to walk home barefoot.
They killed the spider?
My thought is, yeah. They killed someone's pet, so until we get to the pranks coming up in the next round where they start actually trying to kill people, this is like one of the worst pranks because it involved pet killing, which seems pretty
It's a
bad.
tarantula. That's not
Anyway,
no pet. That's
but
a
assume
spider.
that's how you don't get your shoe back, because if someone takes that book, you have nothing to give me, just to let you know. And do you guys know what that is a reference to?
Oh, Home Alone.
Nice.
I love